Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Hello. Hello. And
Hello. Hello.
I thought, can you hear me?
Hello.
I thought for a minute I might have been muted there. So
You're live.
yeah, good. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. Hopefully, the rest of it will be more organized than this.
Wouldn't
this
count
first
on
bit
it
here, but yeah. I think
Why
we've
would
got
we
a good-
change now, Bill?
Exactly.
What's that?
Why would we change now?
You got a good point there, Seth. Well, yeah, we should have a good show for you this morning. We're going to be talking about the new Halo series that just recently started, as well as what we're thinking of Peacemaker at this point. So I guess we'll start with Peacemaker. Save Halo for the last, since it's kind of the newcomer to the show. So what are you guys thoughts on Peacemaker? You've been watching that, I take it. Everybody's been watching that, Charles?
Oh yeah, I watched it beginning to end.
All right. Well, I think Linda and I, Linda and I are only about 4 episodes in, because we're watching it with Zach and Audie, who
Sure.
longtime viewers will probably know from the show. But we only watch an episode or so a week, so it's taken us a little longer to get through it. But I'm liking it so far. It's a pretty funny show. Chris, what are your thoughts?
I liked it. It was my favorite character, probably the whole thing outside of Peacemaker, is probably Vigilante. So for those who need a reminder, Vigilante is kind of the self-proclaimed crime fighter, and I just love how he's consistently disconnected with what it takes for him to do what he's doing. In terms of like murder is really nothing. It's a bad guy, who cares? So he's been pretty funny from that aspect, and he kind of saves the show, I think, in terms of not that the show needed saving, but he's a good
Foil or addition or
Comic
Yeah.
relief in a comedy?
kind of a comic relief on top of the comedy that's already there, because his seems so subtle at times, and it's a lot of what he does or the little things that he's doing on the side. It's not so forced to me, whereas Peacemaker is just like, what stupid things can come out of his mouth next. So yeah, but I love Vigilante, but overall the show is great.
Yeah. Vigilante shows a little enthusiasm, whereas Peacemaker's he's slightly broken at the start of the show.
Slightly broken.
slightly.
Well,
Did you meet
he
his
needs somebody
dad?
he needs some optimism in the group, and I think Vigilante's the only one that's kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
Vigilante is more deeply disconnected from reality than anyone else.
Yes, exactly.
That scene there was ridiculous, where they're out just blowing shit up and
Yeah.
shooting at each other, throwing sticks of dynamite at each other. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, that was kind of their way of blowing off steam and kind of training at the same time. It was very weird.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of weird for them to just include some random footage they took in Alabama in the show. Like,
You're saying that's just a normal day in Alabama?
that's not how they blow off stress, by literally blowing it off.
Yeah, I thought one scene that kind of sticks in my mind as being hilarious is when Vigilante showed up for the first time, and he's looking in the window, and Peacemaker had been lying in his bed crying.
Right, yeah.
He doesn't want him to see him crying, so he sits up, and they start this whole thing about Vigilante standing there with his thing hanging out, but it wasn't. But
Yeah.
Peacemaker didn't want to look.
Also, his excuse that he was working out his face muscles.
Yep.
Yeah, he wasn't crying. He was working out his face muscles, and it makes his eyes water.
Oh,
And then, of
boy.
course, Vigilante wants him to train him how to work out his face muscles.
Oh my God.
Good God.
It's like two 12-year-olds.
And I don't know if it's ever cleared up later in the series, but as of episode 4, they haven't really explained what the hell a butterfly is.
It gets
It
cleared up.
definitely gets cleared up.
Yeah, it depends on how much you want to be spoiled here. 'Cause
Oh,
you don't
spoil
really
it.
know what this show's even about.
really? Okay. All right.
You mean
Well-
there's a point?
Yeah.
There is.
Other
And
than the slapstick
definitely
comedy?
takes a pivot. So
Well, they did an interesting at the end. Peacemaker's not sure he's done the right thing, which was not completely sure anyway,
mhm.
right? And I thought that was kind of a nicer because it's a similar theme to some of the other Marvel or no, I'm sorry, I say that
DC.
DC or other just superhero type, when
Films or movies.
yeah, they've got the butterfly people are trying to save the earth also, just
In a different way.
in a different way, and they know it's kind of people's earth, and so there's a moral quandary there about free will and
Mhm.
Yeah.
at the end, well, it was at least nice that Peacemaker had doubts that he'd done the right thing.
The show actually had some things to say other than just being a goofy
Although
superhero run.
I have to say, I think I'm not sure on this. It bothered. There's something that bothered me, and I think I'm disappointed.
Oh,
In what way?
Well, which is at the beginning they introduce, and I know how they tried to handle it. But in the first episode, Peacemaker's accused of being a racist because he's killed more minorities.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
And even
I
though
remember
his father, even though he deals with his father, who's a Klan member,
I think,
I don't
think it goes
think-
a bit beyond being a clan member.
well,
He's-
right.
More like the Grandmaster.
yeah.
Right.
I know.
But I don't feel like he dealt with, and maybe they'll do that in the second season. But I don't think that felt like an easy way out when we're in a time when police that did not have fathers who were Klan members have been in trouble for similar,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
we had a similar problem in real life.
It's almost like because Peacemaker deals with his father, that somehow the rest is absolved, and his actual history, which they brought up, of having more run-ins with minorities and dealing with them disproportionately was just ignored after that fact. Like somehow dealing with his father absolves
Absolved
Peacemaker
it,
of all of his wrongdoings.
and that
Yeah, I
didn't sit
didn't-
right with me. I
I
mean,
didn't
it just
get that because, I didn't have a feeling that he'd been absolved of anything. At
They haven't
least-
Well,
dealt
right, but they
with it.
didn't come back to it either. So
yeah,
it
they
became
didn't
like
come back like the
Yeah.
whole "you're a racist because you kill more black people" thing. That was mentioned but never addressed.
Right.
exactly, and it
Yeah.
bothered me.
But I
I
think
got
they
a
were-
little, and part of it was, and I have to admit, it's kind of a weird criticism because part of it was I knew this was HBO, and HBO tends to deal with that better than at least lately. Those kinds of
Mhm.
subjects a little better than other studios, right?
Mhm.
And so I was expecting that to be dealt with. I had made a mental note that that's going to be dealt with, and then it wasn't.
Yeah.
Not
And
really.
so for those needing to know, this is Peacemaker's dad. So this is one of the scenes where he ends up he gets actually framed for I forget what the crime was, but he gets framed for something and ends up in prison for something that I think his son actually did.
Yeah, he gets so in the very first episode,
Right.
Peacemaker goes home with a woman he meets at the bar who turns out to be a butterfly, and he just about literally explodes her with his sonic boom helmet when she comes after him and tries to kill him. And the team that Peacemaker's working with decides to frame his father instead of letting Peacemaker go down for the crime, which is kind of the running B plot for the whole series until it becomes the A plot again.
Right. And ultimately you get this. It's when you really find out how involved he is as a Klansman and everything, because he gets to the prison and everyone's basically, he's now running the place there now.
Does
all the
think-
Klansmen.
Does anybody think Robert Patrick just did he's just scary in that role?
Yeah,
he's pretty much scary in any role.
He
was.
Really that was
good.
Probably one of his darkest ones that he's done. And it was on the level of like, what was that film they did with it was on the level of like he could have played himself in that as in American History X or something. Like he played that dark of a role. So he did phenomenal, I think. So but they end up making it about him. To Charles's point, they bring up this racism with Peacemaker, and then they pin it all on his father. Not that his father wasn't a jerk anyways. And then it kind of resolves with the father, and he gets justice ultimately in the end. And then it's just they never go back to it. So
so
go ahead.
If they hadn't raised my expectation, I wouldn't be complaining about it. Was just
especially so early on.
Yeah. I all of a sudden go, well, this will be an interesting way that he has to adjust to the fact that he's done something probably horrible, right? It's more than probably.
They didn't even joke about it. Like they didn't even there could have been scenes later where you came across someone who happened to be black or some other ethnicity, and he could have said, "I'm going to let you go only because my numbers are too high." On like arresting they didn't even try to joke about it later on, and that would have been a good opportunity to kind of still bring it up or let it know that it's still top of mind for him. Instead, it's not.
Well, I think. Like, I don't know if they address here's my take on it. Because I think this season was actually about him just realizing how deeply his father had hurt him and affected him.
Yeah.
And he's like a lot of conservative, like I used to be. You just say, well, I'm not racist. I don't even see race. And and then you just write it off and never think about it again. And that is where I am assuming he's at up until someone points it out.
Right.
And he's also got and he's also finally learning just how manipulative and abusive his dad has been. At the very start of the show, you can see he's just clearly almost still a kid, just doing whatever he can to earn his father's
love, right?
Forgiveness, you find out later on, or do anything for any sort of approval, just because how deeply abusive his father's been. And I think
he also had other sins to deal with too. I mean, killing his brother and
and I think
there's a lot there.
That to me was the issue that, as weird as this kind of sounds, his racism is a side effect of his father, just like another thing that his father's put in him. So it's much more about the father than it is the racism.
Maybe.
and you can like from the very last scene, like he in the very last scene of the show, you can kind of tell his dad still haunt you. Well, his dad's
Yeah.
still haunting him,
Yeah.
and he's still working through those issues.
Yeah.
So,
But you are right, Chris. That would have been a fantastic scene, and I wonder
it would have been. And so it was a missed opportunity to
I
bring that
wonder if
back up.
that's-
They could do it in season 2 or something to kind of put it in there, but I just feel like it was missed opportunity. So there is another aspect of this I wanted to bring up here. Let me find it in another episode because we don't have to talk about that too much. But what did you guys think? And this is kind of spoiler area here, but what do you guys think of the Justice League kind of showing up and at the very end there? So in the very end, at one point, I think in the beginning of episode 8, Leoto Abadayo, or let me look, Adebayo, one of the members of the team, Waller's daughter, basically says, "Hey, we're going to need more firepower. We need more muscle. You need to get the Justice League in here to help us out." So the Justice League arrives like way late, way after all the battle is done and everything like that. At the end of the episode, the Justice League shows up, and it's just silhouettes of all of them except for a couple of the characters they had actually there. I think was it Aquaman,
Yep.
Aquaman and
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, Jason Momoa and the Flash, I think, were kind of there, but they didn't show like Superman, although his silhouette's up there in the sky or whatever. So they show up and Peacemaker and the team are just like, yeah, way to be late to the party, guys. Like, what the hell? And what I didn't get was, what I guess it could have been skipped. I don't know if people needed a reminder of what universe we were in, but like one of or at least a couple of those superheroes should never have been late, especially like the Flash or Superman could get anywhere that they're needed.
Right.
Like what were they doing? Like standing around waiting till everybody got together before they headed out to go deal with the problem that was clearly time critical. Yeah. So you have the silhouettes of everyone that shows up here, and they show up not even fashionably late. It was just like, okay, what was the point? Like, and you had to have known once they got there was no point. They could have just stayed home. It just was kind of pointless.
Yeah, well, I think this is. I mean, it was just a joke.
Yeah, and I get that and everything. I just like,
but
man,
I mean, it does kind of lead into one of my absolute favorite parts of the show, which is throughout the whole thing, Peacemaker and Vigilante are just listing off these weird facts about this other superheroes that they found on completely unreliable places on the internet. Like they keep talking about the different fish that Aquaman's had sex with, or
it is funny.
The weird rumors about Superman or Batman or something, and they're all just like convinced. Oh yeah, this is true. I read it on blah 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 site.
There's even some pretty funny outtakes where it just shows them going on and on, line after line, just throwing stuff out there, and it's just basically, what cut are they going to keep?
The end of every episode where they just have a scene from it where they just keep going.
Yeah. So you get the sense they had a lot of fun doing that on set, and I have to wonder, like, sometimes how they kept their faces straight just because of the stuff that comes out of their mouth. It's just insane. And so you said you've only seen up to episode 4, Bill?
Yeah. So the last place we left off was where Peacemaker's dad gets arrested and thrown into jail.
Yeah. The whole thing pivots for you in episode 5. So you're right at the pivoting point where things really start to take off.
All right.
And you find out some things about the team leaders that will be surprising. You find out a lot more about the butterflies, and then you really start to take off on the plot, and everything starts to come together. There's some crazy stuff that happens in there, but ultimately, we talked a little bit about, and this is a spoiler, Peacemaker's dad gets his, but not before he gets to put himself into a suit and get some fighting action in a little
The
bit. So
dumbest
Really?
looking
the
suit.
dumbest looking suit, yes.
Like a superhero suit.
Yeah.
All right.
Like a superhero suit, except
He's completely suit. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'd say it looks low budget, but I think it's perfect for his character too.
I think it might speak to the time as well, like of when that suit would have been made, but I
Oh
don't know.
yeah, that definitely looks like something out of an 80s show.
Yeah, so the way I viewed it as that, like at his time, that would have been cool, but now it's just kind of a stupid suit.
Yeah.
White Dragon.
Yeah, the White Dragon. So if you
The
could pull
Red
that
Dragon,
up,
wasn't it?
White
It's white.
Dragon.
Okay. I thought it was
Coming
red.
up.
Yeah.
Seth, it's all about white power. It's White Dragon.
It's
Yeah,
White
the White
I
Dragon.
know,
Dragon.
but I thought yeah, I could be. I was probably wrong.
Yeah, well, it's probably wishful.
But
But you know, that
speaking
was
of-
it's interesting because people were there's a couple comments where he had been the White Dragon before.
Is that it?
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh God.
Seems
And
appropriate.
Yeah, I was just sort of interested. There were also a lot of there were a couple of comments that Batman was a real superhero, and
Yeah.
and so the reason I'm just mentioning that is I think the guys at the end, the Aquaman and Flash and Superman showing up at the end probably was necessary in a way. It brought it together because they are mentioning, that some people preferred Batman over
Superman.
the Peacemaker. Some
Oh.
people were aware that there's racism within the superheroes, evidently, at least there in Alabama. And I don't know.
As expected.
I guess it's a different,
Yeah. All right.
I don't.
Well,
Should-
It's a different take than the superheroes I thought I had grown up with. The criticism of, I don't know. Anyway.
all right. Well, why don't we jump into our next topic here because we're getting kind of long into time. We're gonna. Sorry, Seth. Did you have something?
Yep. I just had one question for everyone else.
Yeah.
We already know who Chris's favorite character is. So who is everybody else's favorite character and why is it Eagly?
I was gonna say
I
eagerly.
know. Eagerly, definitely eagerly.
Nice. Yeah.
Eagerly.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, no,
well,
I just wanted to do that.
yeah.
But-
No, I
but
like that.
Let me just say, I think it was worth seeing. I'm being a little critical, but that's not the. It's still it was still a fun.
It was. Yep.
series.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. So if you like comedy and you like superheroes, you'll love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about Halo. So the first episode of Halo is out, and I think we've all seen it. So except maybe Seth, right?
I have not seen this yet, and I haven't played too much Halo, so I'm not
All
going to
right.
have too much to actually add to this one.
That's all right. I haven't played too much through the storylines. I'm more of the Halo party player guy, multiplayer type player myself. So I have
everything all
watched.
the
I have played through enough and fairly familiar with it, but it doesn't matter because this takes part in the Halo world, but it does not following the game really. So
Right.
it's its own storyline, barring the characters out of the Halo universe.
Yeah. So I thought it was pretty interesting first episode overall. I liked where it went, and I like the look of Master Chief. You know, he looks really good. I like the fact that it's all real world. It's not animation, which is nice. Getting to see all the Marines and all of the characters and the especially the Covenant forces. I thought they did a pretty good job on their look, matched everything. I love the sword, the glowing sword,
the little saber like zzz thing.
Yeah, right. They did really a good job with that. In the opening scene, of course, there's a whole lot of action when it first starts off, and you see these Covenant forces attacking this outpost where they're mining heavy water.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of colonists there. And at the point at which the show opens, these colonists are kind of at war with the Marines and with the what are the Spartans?
Yep, the Spartans.
Yeah,
Well, the Spartans were the elite force of the military, if you will. So yeah,
right,
yep,
right. And so they're at war. They're kind of rebelling against them. They're not being treated very well, and it's not a very good relationship. There's terrorist factions that are fighting against the Spartans, and neither side really likes the other side, until, of course, we have the outside force come in, the Covenant forces, and they land on the planet, and we don't really know for sure what all they're doing there, except there was an ancient artifact that they were excavating, and Master Chief kind of ends up with it, and it does something to him, awakens some repressed memories from his childhood.
I wouldn't say repressed, but hidden memories.
Yeah,
hidden, so it's important. Yeah, it's important to know that the Spartans have been manipulated, genetically for physical strength and whatnot, and also mentally they've been their brains have been kind of rewritten, if you will, brainwashed. So what Bill was saying is when he touches the artifact, it scrambles that a little bit, and he starts having memory of having a family and childhood and everything like that. So
and a nice dog.
Yep, nice dog and everything like that. So he's changed from that point a little bit.
Right. And so pretty much these Spartans arrive and start battling the Covenant forces on this planet. They eventually wipe them all out, except for, I think, one escapes, right? And there's one girl, quote, I can't remember her name. What's that?
Quan Ha.
Yeah, Quan Ha. She survives. And so Master Chief takes her on a ship. They're taking her back to Earth. And
I will add real quick, everyone else that was down there at the mining facility got wiped out. So Quan Ha is the only survivor. So while the Spartans showed up, I also want to point out that the I don't want to use the villagers, the people living there were actually surprised when the Spartans showed up that they were actually there to help. So they weren't sure, they're under attack, and then Spartans start coming out of the sky, and they're like, oh no, who is my enemy now? I've got these aliens here and I got the Spartans here. Well, the Spartans start fighting the aliens, and gives them the realization that, some of the propaganda that they've been listening to isn't necessarily accurate, and the Spartans aren't necessarily the bad guys, at least up to this point, that they've seen. So, but yeah, so Quan Ha is the only survivor, and one of the alien people escapes.
Right. And so at as the episode goes on, we see Master Chief and the sole survivor. They're having a conversation there, and it turns out that she had seen Master Chief on a previous engagement where he actually ended up killing her mother. And so that's kind of a little interesting development there in the show. And so she obviously doesn't trust him, and they're being observed remotely from the command base where Master Chief reports to, and they begin to suspect that there's an issue with Master Chief based on his possible contact with this alien artifact. And so they decide there's an issue with God, and I don't know why I can't remember her name. What's the girl's name again?
Quan.
There's an issue with Quan where they want her to go on intergalactic TV, essentially, right, and explain about the danger of the Covenant and the fact that they were attacked by these aliens, and everybody needs to unite and come together on this. But she's
like,
she doesn't want to do it. She says, well, for all I know, you guys staged all this kind of a thing. And if you want my help, then you're going to have to give us independence on this world that you came from. And so they don't want to do that. And they decide instead to kill her. So they remotely shut down all the oxygen on the ship. And they kind of think because there's a problem with Master Chief, they're going to reduce his oxygen to such a level that he doesn't die, but he's basically non-functional until he gets back to base. And fortunately, he kind of figures out what's going on and manages to have enough strength left to restore the oxygen, take control of his ship, and blast his way out and escape. So that's kind of where the first one ends there.
Yeah, that was kind of comical to me there when they were surprised when he started to get back up, because he does initially kind of pass out after they do the oxygen. I was like, well, look, guys, you built him to be the strongest that he could be. You know, and to withstand all this stuff. So like when he goes down, they think he's down for the count, crisis averted, and then you see him like put his hand out and he gets up and he's like, I'm not done yet.
Yeah. Right.
So it's the big problem with super soldiers. You know, you built this unkillable war machine. What happens when you lose control?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that Pablo Schreiber is the Master Chief, and the couple of the people we were watching it with were disappointed when he took his helmet off. I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know what they expected, but they were like, "Oh, that's Master Chief," and I'm like, "What does it matter what he looks like under his?"
I actually thought it was fine, and actually, I was surprised. I didn't realize that Pablo was that big of a guy, because he does fill out that suit. He does look kind of intimidating, but like. Is that his actual height? Is he like?
No, I think that's fake. I think that's fake.
Because they make him look pretty big in the series, but he's gotten pretty jacked.
Yeah, he's got muscles.
Yeah, I don't know what their thing was, Linda. Maybe they just didn't think he looked rugged enough.
I didn't want to stop the show because we're in the middle of it, but I'm like, why did that make a difference? Both of them were disappointed. It was like, oh.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I thought it was fine. I honestly was, it is what it is. I don't know what you expect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe they were expecting, your typical stereotypical square-jawed Marine looks.
Probably.
I guess.
I have to admit, I was expecting Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Just because
for real.
Yeah.
Well, not for real, but I mean, just
a Terminator type.
Partly because of what was that? Because he was in whatever that alien movie was where he fights the. I've forgotten the name of the movie. But he's been in some movies where he's fought aliens. Predator, that was it. Yeah.
Okay.
And this kind of just the beginning reminded me a lot of Predator. So I expected two guys with huge, to do with the handshake.
Two guys with huge dimensions.
Yeah.
Huge tracts of land.
Dimensions.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Well, so I'm looking forward to the next episode of it. I thought they did pretty good world building, and the doctor that's in this, isn't that Tricia Helfiger from Battlestar Galactica? I think.
I'm not a Battlestar Galactica viewer.
I was going to look that up, but I think that's who that is. I'm pretty sure. Audience, correct me if I'm wrong there, or we'll post an update.
She looks familiar. That's all I get.
Yeah. So she's the doctor, and she's sort of she's all googly-eyed over her Spartans, her creations, and so she doesn't want anything to happen to them. And actually, when they try to take out Master Chief on his way back to the command base, she actually tasks two of her Spartans to go out there and protect him no matter what.
I thought that scene was cool.
Yeah. Yep. They're like, you mean you want us to, attack our own friendlies? And one of the other Spartans says, if they attack Master Chief, they're not our friendlies. They're enemies. So yeah, there she is. I'm pretty sure that's
Natasha
her.
Mc
Oh no, it's not then.
McKellen.
No. Huh. Reminded me
it's
of
a
her.
different
But
person.
anyway, yeah. So apologies to the actress that plays her for the Miss ID, but in any case, yeah, it's great. That was a great scene, and it just shows that she's got pretty good control over those. But it makes me wonder what's going to happen as Master Chief starts getting more and more of his memories back. How that's going to pan out in the season, and how his relationship to that doctor may change. Going forward. So a lot of interesting little dynamics getting set up here as we just get through the first episode. So greatly looking forward to seeing what's in store for the next season. And this is on HBO Max. No, sorry, Paramount Plus.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Yeah, Paramount's they're kind of getting into the sci-fi stuff there with all the Star Trek episodes, seasons, and series that they have out right now, and then of course this new Halo one. So kind of fun to see all the sci-fi stuff coming out.
Yeah, and I will add, if you liked a lot of the special weapons they have in the Halo games, the little grenades, the handheld dart guns and all that kind of stuff. It's all little tidbits in there. They even have some helmet cam views, so it looks like it does in a first-person shooter, and they don't overdo it. It was just the right kind of mix in there. So I thought that was pretty awesome as well. So even down to, in most of the Halo games, if not all of them, when your armor takes damage, if you get away from getting shot at for a little bit, it'll regenerate. There's a scene there where Master Chief has to do that as well. So he's taking all these hits, has to step out of the way. You hear his suit power back up.
You can hear the power.
And then he gets right back out there and starts fighting again. So there's a lot of cool stuff that they did. They really paid good tribute, I think, to the Halo games. So yeah, I'm also looking forward to how the rest of the season goes. So
I know where you know her from, Bill. She was in Californication.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And she was also in Designated Survivor. So
yeah. All right. Well, good. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's it for this episode. Thank you all for listening. We do have an audience question for this episode. Let me throw that up on the screen there. Chris, you want to read that?
Yeah. Do you like having the familiar Halo characters in a new story that we haven't seen in any of the games? So again, like I said earlier in the show, this Halo series is not based off of any point in time. It's not a prequel, not a future, not anywhere in between as far as the storylines go for the games. It's completely original stories. So, how do you feel about that? Borrowing from the characters in the Halo universe and having a new story.
All right. Sounds good. So let us know what you think in the comments section, and we will catch you on the next episode. Next time, our episode will get released on Star Trek First Contact Day, so it'll kind of be a Star Trek centric episode to a degree. So anyway, take care and have a great week, and we will see you next time on Galactic Driftwood Podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.